The party that brought us, they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, has been telling another big racist lie in the wake of the domestic terrorist attack in New Orleans, and CNN's Jim Acosta has been pushing back in a big way, and I have the full story for you next. What happened in the French Quarter is such a tragedy, and of course it should not be politicized, but that didn't stop Donald Trump and his loyal legion of apologists who will defend his every impulsive and racist utterance. Let's set the stage with the lies that Trump posted shortly after the loss of life, and then I'll share Acosta's slam dunk on one of those apologists. When I said that the criminals coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats in the fake news media. But it turned out to be true. The crime rate in our country is at a level that no one has ever seen before. Our hearts are with all of the innocent victims and their loved ones, including the brave officers of the New Orleans Police Department. Our country is a disaster, a laughingstock all over the world. This is what happens when you have open borders with weak, ineffective, and virtually non-existent leadership. The DOJ, FBI, and Democrat state and local prosecutors have not done their job. They are incompetent and corrupt, having spent all of their waking hours unlawfully attacking their political opponent, me, rather than focusing on protecting Americans from the outside and inside violent scum that has infiltrated all aspects of our government and our nation itself. Now watch as CNN's Jim Acosta deconstructs the Trump lie that the driver was an illegal immigrant, and then sets up Neil Chatterjee to look like the Republican spokeshole he is in trying to defend Trump's nonsense with some verbal gymnastics.
Donald Trump is posting misinformation about the deadly attack in New Orleans. We can show some of this on screen. He posted on Truth Social earlier this morning that it was somehow related to immigration, blaming open borders. But CNN is reporting the suspect in New Orleans is a Texas-born U.S. citizen. We were just mentioning earlier in this program that the person who rented the Cybertruck in Las Vegas was a member of the U.S. Special Forces. Neil, I mean, we're right back where we were in 2017, where Donald Trump, he takes misinformation, he takes false news from wherever, and he puts it out there, and it just confuses the hell out of everybody. What's the solution here? I mean, why can't he just stick to the facts?
Look, in this particular instance,
or wait for the facts to come in.
In this instance, if the reporting is correct and what we're hearing from law enforcement, the suspect in New Orleans was in fact an American citizen who served in the Army and was radicalized by ISIS. That said, we can't ignore the fact that from 2021 to 2024, there were 400 people on the terrorist watch list that were stopped at the border. And those are just the people that we stopped. So it is a real issue. And I think that's what President Trump does.
Yeah, but Neil,
he brings focus to these
You might have people coming across the border, and yes,
on the
that
terrorist
is
watch list.
Okay, that's obviously a problem. But if that is not the case in New Orleans, and that is not the case in Las Vegas, you can't bring it up. You can't bring it up.
I think
it's not connected.
What the president's objective is to bring attention to what he identifies as the problem. He believes that concerns about border and border security were vital to his winning election and wants to highlight those issues. And I think that is what he has chosen to do in this particular instance. I think, as we have seen for really the past decade, you don't necessarily take all his tweets literally. It's about the issue that he's trying to raise.
This is the same old scapegoating that we've seen. Like, this is nothing new, and this is disgusting of what we're seeing. Like, what happened in New Orleans is disgusting. We should talk about all the facts to make sure this could never happen again, but not put it on the backs of my grandparents or my parents who were immigrants, all immigrants being something that's bad. Immigrants are good. Immigrants are good for our economy. Having bad people stopped, I agree, is good as well. But we can't let misinformation. This is how you get more attacks like this, like somebody from Dallas, Texas driving to a Walmart in El Paso and start shooting Mexicans because they think that Mexicans are invading the country. This is where something like this starts.
Yeah, I mean, Neil, this is a problem, and you were saying a few moments ago you can't take him literally. The president, why shouldn't you take the president of the United States literally? Isn't that sort of a baseline expectation that he should stick to the facts?
I think, look, in this particular instance, and I didn't see the exact language he used in the Truth Social post, I don't think he was saying that this individual crossed illegally, or if he was, it was based on initial reporting that was incorrect, that somebody had crossed
We can show it up
Eagle
on screen
Pass.
again. I mean, he's talking about
But he has a valid
point. He's blaming Biden's open borders policy.
And again,
he's talking about that on Truth Social. I mean,
but does he tie it directly
when I said that
to
the
this
criminals
particular
coming in are far worse than the criminals we have in our country, that statement was constantly refuted by Democrats and the fake news media, but it turned out to be true. Not in this case.
Not
what
in
he
this
is saying
case,
in
but-
that, what
but
he is saying in
400
that, what he is saying in that Truth Social post is false. That is false.
He's not saying that this individual crossed the border illegally,
Right.
but there were 400 people on the terrorist watch list.
Of course,
that
but when
did.
there's an act of terrorism in this country, the incoming president should tell the truth to the American people. I mean, that is just... Isn't that what the president should do at all times?
He's talking about securing the border, and he's been talking for years about securing the border, and he believes, and I think the data bears out that he won the election partially because.
Well, I mean, I just
of
have to
his
say,
push for a
here he
secure
goes
border.
again. He talks about everybody else being fake news, and he's the one peddling fake news. But Neil and Chuck, thanks very much. We appreciate it. We'll be right back.
By the way, that third man who teamed up with Acosta to tell Chatterjee and Trump to stop scapegoating immigrants was Chuck Rocha. He's a Latino political strategist, and I appreciate that he too pointed out that Republicans are politicizing an awful tragedy to further stir hate and division. As for Jim Acosta, I like him a lot, but what we just saw is not only an indictment of Trump, it's also an indictment of CNN for always giving time to fools like Chatterjee to sane-wash every crazy and bigoted thought that Trump has. I honestly think their sinking ratings would improve if they stopped giving puppets like Chatterjee a platform and instead gave that airtime to psychologists who can explain what turns a person into a pathological liar and narcissist like Trump, and to sociologists who can explain how so many people can be in the grip of a celebrity con man with white nationalist values, and to historians who can help us remember that none of this is new and remind us that it's an ongoing threat to the ideals and liberties of a democratic nation.